Welcome back to the Theology of the Buddy, a podcast for Catholics who love the beauty of the Church's sacred tradition. This is episode 76. My name is Chris, and I'm joined today by my trouser-clad co-hosts, Mike, Brooke, and Tim. Before we begin, if you haven't yet, please make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review if you can. It'd really help us out. Also, don't forget to drop by our website, theologyofthebuddy.com, for all of our past episodes and show notes. And while you're at it, don't forget to follow us on our socials so you can keep up to date with all of the great content we're putting out every week. You can find us at Theology of the Buddy. All right, so welcome everybody to the podcast. Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking a little bit about the great Feast of Epiphany, and we're going to get into the spicy topic about whether ladies should wear pants. Thanks to our friends over at Sensus Fidelium, who released a very controversial, yeah, episode or YouTube video on lady pants. So we're going to get into that shortly. But before we do, hey guys, how you doing?
Good. Awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Great to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
I was just waiting for that dedication, Chris.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right.
The dedication, yes.
The great dedication. Today's episode is dedicated to our good friend and previous guest on the podcast, Nicholas Job, who has regrettably lost all spirit and love of Christmas. So, Nicholas Job, this goes out to you, and we hope someday that you'll regain the magic of Christmas. So
he's gonna kill us.
All right. So before we get into the hot topic of lady pants, I thought we'd quickly talk about Epiphany. So I know a couple of us were able to attend the great Feast of Epiphany. I know some of our listeners were able to attend Epiphany vigils and things like that, which is amazing. What a blessing that is. So for those,
some of us were able to walk away with gallons of Epiphany water. Looking at you, Chris. That was awesome.
8 liters of Epiphany water. How many gallons is 8 liters? I don't know.
About 2, right?
I think it's 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know Canadian math.
Yeah. We have different math up here for sure.
It's about 5 kilometers.
Yeah. But yeah, so I thought we'd quickly talk about Epiphany. So what is Epiphany? So from the Angelus Press Missal, it tells us here that the word Epiphany means manifestation. The Church in the Mass commemorates a triple manifestation of Christ. Firstly, to the Magi, that is, to the Gentiles. In his baptism, when the voice from heaven declared, "This is my beloved Son," and in the miracle of changing water into wine at Cana. So just really quickly from our friend Philip Campbell in his work on the Feasts of Christendom. Big shout out to Philip Campbell. This is a fantastic book. If you don't have it yet, you can get it on Amazon and tell him we sent you when you leave a review, because it's really good. But he says here that the Feast of Epiphany went by many names in the early church. It was sometimes called Epiphaniae or Epiphanios, both relating to the Greek term for manifestation and revealing. However, the titles Theophaniae or Theophany, Dies Epiphanarium in Latin, and Festivitas Declarationem were also used among others. Though its historical names were varied, we can be certain we are dealing with Epiphany whenever we see a liturgical commemoration of Christ's manifestation to the world. The date of its observance appears to have been fixed on January 6th, exceedingly early, and has its origin in the Eastern Church. It is impossible to discern why this date was selected. All we can do is note that from the very earliest mentions of this feast, it has never fallen on any other date than January 6th. End quote.
Wow.
So actually, you know, when I was reading this book, The Feast of Christendom, I saw in the Christmas section that Epiphany was celebrated first before Christmas at all. Christmas didn't come for centuries. The Feast of Christmas didn't come for centuries. But Epiphany has been around basically, it seems like, since apostolic times. So very, very, very cool. Also, the weird thing about this is that for some reason, pre-55, we had the Vigil of Epiphany. And then with the 1962, the Vigil of Epiphany was removed. Traditionally, the vigil was the time when the actual blessing of the Epiphany water would occur. But yeah, so that was removed by Pius XII in 1955. And it was actually at that point that the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord was instituted on January 13th. So, because traditionally it was always seen as all combined into that one Feast of Epiphany. But Pius XII split that apart and put the baptism on January 13th and removed the actual vigil, removed the actual vigil and the actual octave of Epiphany leading up to the baptism, which it's kind of weird. Yeah. But in any case,
the 13th would have been the octave day, correct? Is my math.
Yeah. Yeah. 8
right
days.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 plus 7 does check out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're Canadians, right? So our math is different, but I mean, yeah.
If that turns out to be wrong, just chalk it up to Canadian math,
Canadian math, yeah.
And our public school system.
Hey, I've seen what you guys did to bacon.
That's ironically
Oh, wait.
only an
You
American thing.
Oh my goodness, you probably don't know about Canadian bacon.
We know.
Okay,
about
so
So we
Canadian
know
bacon.
about it.
You know
But
about
we don't
it.
have
Okay.
it here. It's only
Yeah,
American.
we don't have it here either. It's not allowed in my house. Okay, yeah. I was
what do
worried
we
I was
call
talking about something completely foreign here, but no.
We call it back
Mhm.
bacon, right? That's what we call it.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's essentially bologna with flair. So,
Baby
think-
got back makes so much more sense now.
I think from what I've
got
heard,
back.
what they call Canadian bacon is not even back bacon. It's just
No.
something else altogether.
It's a weird ham, is all it is. And
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, the only use that it has is it makes people who like pineapple on pizza have just a couple more options.
I wonder if there's actually a place in Canada where they have Canadian bacon, because it sure is not here.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look. Yeah, because I mean, it's self-referential to call it Canadian bacon in Canada. Wouldn't they just call it bacon?
Yeah, but what we call bacon is just bacon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
It's like actual bacon.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But get-
Anyway,
but
I know.
get-
Sorry about the
Discussing
derail.
important topics here.
but getting back to the actual Epiphany Vigil, I just opened the Daily Roman Missal for the Novus Ordo, and they brought back the Vigil of the Epiphany in the
Oh,
Novus
really?
Ordo. Yeah. So that's interesting, right? They don't have the Epiphany blessing like we would in the traditional rite, but they
Yeah.
definitely
Well,
have the vigil.
as I mentioned before, have you seen the exorcism on that bad boy? That's like way too Catholic
You know,
to have in the new calendar.
well,
question: Is the normal blessing of the holy water different than, like between the Novus Ordo and the 1962, for lack of?
Very different.
completely
yes.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this blessing can only be done on Epiphany. That's what
Oh, okay,
this is what gives it its special character and also its power.
right.
Yeah. So, so it says here that with regards to the blessing of the Epiphany water, that the blessing comes from the Orient, So this comes from the Maternal Heart of Mary traditional Latin Mass community. So shout out to them. But it says here that the blessing comes from the Orient, where the Church has long emphasized in her celebration of Epiphany the mystery of our Lord's baptism, and by analogy, our baptism. This aspect is not neglected in Western Christendom, although in practice we have concentrated on the visit of the Magi. Many years before the Latin Rite officially adopted the blessing of Epiphany water, diocesan rituals, notably in Lower Italy, had contained such a blessing. End quote. So yeah, look at this. Our listeners can't see it, but like it's huge. This is the handout for the traditional blessing.
It's thick.
Yeah.
Well, the prayers for the just the blessing alone, like that whole is ceremony the right word for the blessing of the holy water? It took like 45 minutes, right?
Easily.
Like including all of the reading and the chanting and such.
It starts with the Litany of the Saints, and it's got a bunch of psalms and chants in it, as well as the 3 exorcisms and the blessings.
Yeah. And and the Litany of the Saints itself is the traditional Litany of the Saints. You know, if you go to the Novus Ordo Easter Vigil, they don't have half of the stuff that's in this, you know, partially because it's a little too Catholic. So there is that litany. Yeah. And like the priest also, like, he chants Psalm 28 in the midst of it too, which is absolutely beautiful. Right. Which is, give to the Lord, you sons of God, give to the Lord glory and praise. Give to the Lord the glory due his name. Adore the Lord in holy attire.
Reading the prayers is just wild, because it's just so powerful. There is so much authority to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a better word for that, but
it is like calling on the authority of God to cast out Satan, right? In the new, like the modern church, you don't hear a priest say stuff like,
can you just read it? Can Mike just read like one little paragraph?
Sure.
Just that. Can you read that?
Just this little snippet Brooke's looking at. That's
it's just so good.
Accursed dragon and every diabolical legion, we adjure you by the living God, by the true God, by the holy God, by the God who so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Anyway, just like the confidence to actually say, we adjure you. The church doesn't do that. They kind of beat around the bush nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some specific uses for Epiphany water, right? I think I heard something like there was a use for it with the bells that was reminiscent of baptism. Am I mistaken on that?
Oh, like you would use Epiphany water to essentially baptize bells? Yep.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. Yeah. I don't know the rite, what that looks like, but I've heard it. I've heard of it, and I've seen the blessing of a bell online, and like that's also a wild thing to watch, right? The church, again, like Mike said, nowadays has kind of lost its understanding of the power of bells, but like a bell properly blessed sends terror into the heart of demons, like absolute terror.
Yeah. I mean, there's a rite of exorcism. I mean, you ring the bell at the Sanctus for a very specific reason. I mean, it's supposed to drive the enemy away.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, if you didn't get a chance to go to Epiphany this year, definitely plan to go next year if you can, because it's a beautiful, beautiful mass. And if you can get a hold of Epiphany water, or if you're nearby me and you need some Epiphany water, hit me up at Theology of the Buddy. I'll hook you up with some Epiphany water. I'd be glad to
Can we link like this blessing down in the show notes somewhere for people?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Please take the time to read them. They are so cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Think of the use of that Epiphany water and blessing. Well, maybe this is jumping onto the chalk part if you were going to mention that, Chris, but I think of it kind of like Catholic home defense, right? It's one of the layers of defenses you as the head of the family should be setting up, like chalking your door, sprinkling your home with holy water, and various other things. But this is kind of a key. Epiphany is like the rearmament for the year at my house.
Absolutely.
Where we do the house blessing, chalk the doors, get stocked up with holy water.
Yeah.
And we bless all the rooms and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, like in times where we have, or if you have felt like something ain't right, like you feel like you're under spiritual warfare, or, you know, you feel like you're just losing control. Like I go around the rooms and I'll sprinkle holy water. If there's an inclination in my gut that says you should do that, like, yep, I just go do it.
Yep.
And it brings about an incredible sense of peace.
It's powerful stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest victories of the evil one over the past 2 years has been the removal of holy water from our parishes. Like I don't know if it's like that for you.
Yep.
Yeah. But we haven't had holy water for 2 years, and I think that's a scary idea.
It takes away a sign of our baptism.
Yeah.
I mean, the
and holy
very
water
foundation.
removes. Yeah. When we went to the mass in Thorold, they, like those hand sanitizer dispensers, they had a holy water one. So you put your hand under and it would give you it's kind of cringy and not that dignified.
That's like these.
But that was the only time we had it.
But it's what they have to do to get it in there.
And they're just.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is kitschy.
Yes, it does seem cheesy, but they're doing what they can to actually get the sacramentals in there, which I respect.
Yeah.
It even had like its own little name on, like aqua dispensa or something like that. Like someone out there said there's a problem and we need to solve it, and they did. And kind of weird, but you know what? I was happy it was there, because it was like we hadn't had access to that to bless ourselves in walking into the church, except at one parish.
We got to buck up, put our big boy pants on, and just start accepting that everything we do comes with a certain amount of risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know if I can mention the virus without getting flagged, but the particular situation that we're in, the risk is minor, and it's not waterborne. Bring back the holy water.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the SSPX parish, and shocker, and they still have the holy water out.
Yeah.
Because their bishops aren't afraid. So
people will forget. Do you know what I mean? Like, think about this. If 5 years from now, arbitrary number, they still haven't brought it back, claiming that, we're afraid of people getting sick. Like, what does that say?
Mm-hmm.
What does that say about our faith?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what does that say about the power of sacramentals?
Exactly.
Like, it's the same with what our bishop said about the Eucharist, about the importance of confession, the sacrament of baptism. All, what was the word? Yeah. All non-essential.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, preach, Tim. Like, bring him back. Bring him back. It's time.
No. It's damaging to the faith. It's damaging to souls. Holy water has an actual effect. When you cross yourself with holy water, you're being forgiven of venial sins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does something for you. Having these sacramentals, there's a purpose to them, and taking them away because we're just a little bit afraid about what, why are we doing this? They took away the mass because they were afraid. They took away confession because they were afraid. They gave us guides on how to live without confession. What kind of bishops are these?
Mm-hmm.
Right. These are the wolves, and the bishops are like, how to, here's a guide on how to live with wolves. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry.
We're lucky at the TLM that we have the asparagus anyway.
Yes.
Like we can't bless ourselves when we walk into the church, but we got the asparagus.
Yeah.
Like,
Granted, all of us who like to hang on the far wings of the church, that aspergillum is not reaching us. Like,
Yeah.
It's like there needs to get underneath a barbell and start working on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get that reach a little bit further there, Padre.
Yeah,
if you use an actual if they use an actual hyssop leaf, I
branch.
think it would probably get like a lot more coverage.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Nice
Could
and
you
springy.
imagine?
Or
Yeah.
or
Lean
you can
into
do what
that
I did.
Hisopo.
Or you can do what I did, you guys. Just get a basting brush and go through the house, sprinkling the holy water in all the rooms. It was great.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Aspergillium,
I
pasting
really-
brush.
I had to admit, I mean, it was so low key domestic church though. I was like, Julie, what chants do you know? And she's like, I was like, can you sing these salve? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, so let's go through the house singing the salve. You know, like we
Do
should
what you
have done
gotta
the
do, man.
That's a good
asparagus.
idea. We should walk around chanting next time. Usually I walk around just saying the St. Michael prayer while
Okay.
I'm sprinkling holy water around the house.
Yeah.
Vincent would actually love it. Our kids love singing the Salve Regina. It's great.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it probably would have been way smarter to do just the asparagus. That would have been smart. I'm not a smart man.
Oh, just chant the asparagus.
Yeah.
We could just do that.
Yeah.
Are we underthinking or overthinking? I'm not sure anymore.
I'm not sure.
Okay, here's another domestic church anecdote with holy water. So sprinkling, I didn't have a problem because I transferred into those little holy water bottles that have the little spout for spraying it. But in order to get it into there from the big jars, I needed a funnel, and we didn't really have one other than the one our kids use as a bath toy. So I had to go into the bathroom, get their bath toy out of the bathtub, use it to funnel the water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Man,
kids
yeah,
got a little
Oh,
extra
man.
blessed
that's right.
in their bath.
So good. So, but this is the gift of having our own ecclesia domestica, right? It's, you know,
Mhm.
Yeah,
the stories.
we do our best.
Yeah. So, speaking about doing our best, we should always dress our best, and that includes not wearing lady pants. Agree or disagree?
I promise that I will never wear lady pants.
100%. That definitely includes me not wearing lady pants.
Okay.
So, let's just give a quick rundown. So we'll link to this in the show notes at theologythebuddy.com. You can find it there. There is a talk or a homily that was given from a priest. I'm not sure where, I'm not sure who, but he gave a homily on the importance of modesty, and particularly against ladies wearing pants. Now, this is not a podcast. I just want to make a very clear note right off the bat. We all are very much in agreement that women and men need to dress modestly. Okay.
Mhm.
That is without a doubt. Like, man, I basically broke off relationships with girls because of immodesty. Like, it was that important to me. Even in high school, it was that important to me. So, like, I won't mince words about the importance of modesty, but the question about lady pants and this homily, it kind of got me fired up. And like, I was
Yeah.
in the car, literally white knuckled, like so mad at this priest at like what my thought was very much like it seemed very like scrupulosity, very puritanical. And I wasn't the only one who felt this way. Jordan Burke, the son of the great and wonderful Dan Burke. So he runs the Do the Harder Thing podcast. He's Jordan is just an amazingly good, holy man. And like even he was like, he did a rant on his Instagram about this Sensus Fidelium talk and about how just ridiculous it is. But I wanted to get your thoughts on it and, you know, just see where you guys are at on this topic. Should women wear pants?
I want to speak last. So,
okay.
Let me go last. Men, it's all yours. The pants.
Pants. Okay.
Are you
so
saying we wear the pants in the podcast?
I would hope you are wearing pants.
Not lady pants, though.
We did say we were trouser clad, so we did debate before recording the podcast whether we would say our pantsed co-hosts, but then we realized that would be inappropriate.
yeah, not very modest. No. Yeah. So here's a question. Does the shape of the clothing have an effect on how modest it is if it's covering it to similar degrees, or if it's concealing? I don't want to say covering because, you know, that's not just the point, concealing. So if you have lady trousers that are doing a admirable job of concealing the gosh, it's such a hard thing to talk about without sounding crazy. Anytime you talk about this, you sound insane. I'm sorry. You just do.
Well, this is what the priest sounded like.
I know. Well, I feel bad for him because, okay, so he went so far, but it's so hard to not, like, you really want to define terms. You really want to, you know, come down somewhere, but there's like, okay, so there's so many different styles. There's so many different cuts. There's so many different, but the way that you achieve modesty is it's, you know, through what you conceal and through what you reveal. And I don't know that you can definitely say, okay, lady pants. I mean, they're definitely, you know, causing much more revealing than, say, skirts, dresses, you know, what have you. So I don't know that you can definitely put that on the cut of the fabric itself.
Mm-hmm. Fit and form do matter.
Yeah. And,
go on.
You know, yeah. Form affects function. I mean, it's a basic principle.
Yep.
You know, what you do, you know, affects, you know, the effect. You know, how you do it affects the effect. So, mm-hmm. you know, form affects function. Deformity yields dysfunction. So, I mean, yeah, you can have pants, and, you know, they can be extremely revealing, or you can have definitely seen some skirts that are extremely revealing. So, you know, I don't know that coming down and being like, okay, lady pants, you know, these are absolutely sinful. You need to go to confession.
These are the problem.
That's not. Yeah, I don't think that that's helpful at all. I think that rather than coming down and being extremely specific, we have to get back and talk about principles. And once we get away from those principles and start trying to get pinned in on very, very specific things, you know, people should be able to use good judgment. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we need to be able to educate our children and become educated ourselves to the point where our judgment is strong enough where we can say, yes, you know, if I were to walk out of the house wearing Daisy Dukes, my wife would slap me. You know, that's just a function of her judgment. You know, and it's obviously a dysfunction of mine, but, you know,
yes, it would.
Yeah. My employer does not allow me to wear a kilt to work, and, you know, some days it would be fantastic, but
how bigoted.
I know. I've got the tartan picked out and everything, but no, but it's, yeah. So I think that a big part of the problem with this discussion is that we're running directly to details and we are getting away from principles.
Okay. So did I tell you guys the story about the Barbie pants on this podcast? Because that's like the perfect anecdote for this situation. Speaking of
Barbie the doll.
Yeah.
Barbie the doll. Like, speaking of immodest skirts, our daughter received a Barbie for Christmas, and it's supposed to be a veterinarian. It's a really cute Barbie set. It's got like dogs and like a mom veterinarian and a little girl. There's one slight omission in this Barbie set, and that is her veterinarian outfit is basically a mini skirt that like
It's a tank top. It's a long tank top. It just barely covers the underwear.
Yeah. So like Evie's playing with, and like the proportions are off on Barbies, right? So their legs are like 10 miles long. And it's like, I'm saying to Evie, like, oh, they must have forgotten to give Barbie some clothes. Like she forgot to put on pants this morning. This isn't a very professional veterinarian outfit. So we actually had to borrow some additional Barbie clothes from Grandma in order to give Barbie some dignity.
Oh, and she was wearing stilettos too.
Yeah.
So it was just like
Stilettos and a mini skirt.
like it's like you know how you expect to get a veterinarian and you go on Wish and you order veterinarian and it's in quotation marks. It's that.
Yeah. It's like a Halloween slutty veterinarian costume. That's exactly what it was. Like, oh my goodness. Anyway,
thank you, Mattel.
So
Mattel's not going to sponsor this podcast.
Oh no,
definitely not. Unless they repent of their unclothed Barbies.
Yes.
And various
we
other
do
things.
Highly encourage both of them to repent and to sponsor us.
yes.
Yeah. I might have to repent of the later seasons of My Little Pony too. But anyway, let's carry on.
Yeah.
Not the smooze.
So yeah, we made her modest by giving her pants. And that's basically sums up the heart of this debate. Now, to comment on what the priest actually said, I'm convinced that he said pants are sometimes modest in this talk. He never outright said never wear pants. He even gave the anecdote of the Mexican immigrant workers, which I thought was phrased in kind of a like slightly racist way, but anyways, pass right on by that. But he held them up as an example of modesty because they wore things to, cover up their backsides, as he puts it, when they were working out in the field with jeans. So I think where he gets into trouble is where he tries to justify some of his points with some really wild generalizations about women.
Oh yeah.
That's more where I was like, oh, that's a huge exaggeration, or that's a huge generalization on some of the points, like how, what was some of the examples, like how women, as young women, want to do exactly what other young women do. I'm kind of like,
yeah, therefore
that was also me as a teenager. Sorry.
Yeah.
And like every young boy.
Girls want to wear what the other girls are wearing because women are naturally followers. I'm just like, is that really true? I don't know.
I think there's like some kernel of truth in a woman being suited to being a helper in her design from God, but it's blown way out of proportion and taken to an extreme that's way too far. So that's where I think that was what had me facepalming. I actually think when it came precisely to pants, he wasn't necessarily in error. If you're wearing yoga pants, you got to know that you're not actually wearing pants, you're wearing underwear. Stuff like that. I don't know.
I also have
That's
long
it.
johns.
Yeah.
Chris.
So I will say two things. One, our good friend Matt, season 1 Matt, I was chatting with him about it, and I haven't asked his permission to share this, but I'm still going to share it. He said that he listened to the Lady Pants talk. He said that he didn't hear anything he would call controversial. And he said that the first part was talking about visual tracking research, which he said is kind of fun stuff. They do that in pathology research too, to compare how useless trainees are at I think he meant to say finding stuff versus experienced pathologists. So, you know, the idea that a man will immediately look at a woman's behind if they're wearing pants, like that's, I think, one that might be a bit of a generalization. But the one thing that kind of drove me nuts is the fact that and this is kind of comparable to what Jordan Burke was pointing out too, that he saw a lot in especially Southern Baptist circles in, you know, with regards to modesty. There would always be these like kind of chick track style stuff that were sent out about modesty rules. And basically all of the talking points that the priest had was almost verbatim what these Southern Baptists had put out. And it isn't necessarily, it's not always wrong, but it's just kind of really extreme and really, it kind of feels like the yoke of responsibility is placed squarely on the woman and no responsibility is placed on the man's shoulders. And this is kind of where I take off and I say, like, men need to be in control of their passions. That is the most important thing. You know, like, yeah, women need to be modest too. Sure. You know, but if a woman is being immodest, it's not squarely her fault if I look and I start to lust. That's on me. You know?
Oh, yeah.
And so the one thing that was severely lacking in that talk was the need for men to mortify themselves. Straight up. And I know that for me and my struggles over the years with lust, like, I can't just point to those other sources and say that's all their fault for doing it. No, like, I need to be in control of the passions. I need to mortify myself when I fail. I need to be ensuring that I'm in confession as often as I need to be, you know, weekly, monthly, whatever, to ensure that I'm getting this out. And yeah, that was missing. That was missing. Mm-hmm. You know, despite what Pope Francis says, you know, Our Lady did say very much that sins of the flesh are like the number one sin that leads souls to hell. And I believe that to be the case. But Our Lady didn't say, and women, it's all your fault. Mm-hmm. So let's take a both and approach, that men need to be in control of their passions and need to fight. And I think more than anything, they have a particular role because let's be honest, the pornography industry, the swimwear industry, Sports Illustrated, whatever, all that stuff wouldn't exist if it weren't for lustful men. They wouldn't make a dime if men weren't into it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. Like, men need to take real responsibility and be virtuous. Women too, but men more than women, in my opinion, need to really do it, because it wouldn't happen if men weren't pushing for it. Brooke.
Okay, I got a couple dollars, so hang tight there. Okay, so
dollars.
Full disclosure. Yeah, because you said these are my 2 cents, and I said, I got a couple dollars.
Okay. Well,
Canadian or American dollars?
It's a stupid joke. I'm so sorry. Okay. Full disclosure. I'm a lady. Hi, how are you?
Shocker.
I sometimes wear pants. Oftentimes they're sweatpants. I'm working out. They're workout pants. No surprise there. I'm often a lady that wears dresses because I'm lazy and they're comfy. So
and they're beautiful.
Okay. Story time. So I don't get out very often. And I thought, hey, I'm going to go out. There's going to be people there. I should probably dress nice. I should probably dress modestly. You know, I'm not going to put on my yoga pants that I would wear at home or something, you know. And I decided I'll put on a full length dress, like, you know, very casual, button all the way down, long sleeves, you know, really nice, not too tight, you know. It fit well enough to show that I was a girl, but loose enough to show I was a woman, to quote Cameron Fradd. Okay. So I go to the grocery store, you know, it's fine. But then this guy says something to me and he's like trying to start conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, haha, nice. Okay. Have a great day. And then I'm walking in the parking lot and he says, I really like your dress. Alarm bells are going off. Like, this is not okay. I'm uncomfortable. This is like a mid-40s-year-old man, and I'm buying diapers and I'm putting them in the back of my car. How many kids you got? Yep. Okay. I say 2. Yep. They're great. Yeah. Have a great day. Bye. I get in my car. I drive home and I'm flustered because I'm just like, I was not looking for attention, but I got it dressing modestly. It is not the first time that I've worn a dress out in public and had guys either checking me out or flirt with me. And they're dresses that my husband approves of that are not immodest at all. Right, Mike? He's nodding his head. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a situation where I feel like you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. You know what I mean? I don't wear jeans anymore just because most jeans are too low rise or too tight. And that's just not practical for my life. I just don't do it. Mom jeans are honestly a breath of fresh air. And what I'm finding is the biggest deterrent for women to wear dresses is because they're just not available. You can't find them. And if you do, they cost so much money. So, you know, when you have people saying, oh, women should wear dresses, it's like, absolutely. That would be amazing. Can you show me where? Right? And oftentimes they're like, well, can't you just go to the store? What store? I can't buy a skirt that, you know, goes past my knees. I can't go to a store to buy a dress that isn't like super form fitting or super low cut or, you know, has a slit all the way up to my hip. It's nearly impossible. So, like, I have to buy from the States. Hashtag Nisi's dresses. I buy from the Mormons to buy dresses because I can't find them. And I don't buy them often because they're expensive. And I was wearing a Mormon dress at the grocery store. And I still got hit on. Me, the person not looking for attention at all, ever. Please don't talk to me.
The dress just screamed polygamy.
The dress screamed. The dress screamed, I am beautiful. Come and talk to me. Nay, please don't. I'm just trying to buy groceries for my family. But yeah, this is just a reoccurring problem. And he was the priest made it sound like if women wear dresses, everything is going to be better. It ain't. Because like Chris said, men need to control themselves too. Please don't hit on women in the grocery store parking lot if they're wearing a dress. Kind of busy.
Buying diapers with a wedding ring on too. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. There was a lot of generalizations. Like, it bothered me because you can wear pants that don't fit super tight. That makes sense, right? I think everybody here would agree with that. Don't wear pants where it's like you can see everything, right? Yeah. Like, wear what's practical for the environment that you're in based on the activities that you're doing, but be modest about it. It doesn't take anything else to really, I don't know. There's nothing more to it. Like, obviously I have a problem if girls are saying, I'm going on a hike and I'm wearing my shorts, and those shorts are way too short.
Yeah.
They ain't shorts. Those are underpants.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could go on for a lot longer, but I won't because I love you guys.
Yeah, well,
but dang.
Well,
I think you've made your point though.
Yeah. The thing is, like, no matter where you go, there's always going to be the potential for a man to oogle. And that's, I mean, whether you're at the grocery store or you're at, the traditional Latin mass, Father Ripperger talks about how he sees men in traditional parishes struggle with lust even more, some of them. And if that's the case, man, you're walking in there with a dress looking like a beautiful lady, a man's potentially gonna look because they struggle with lust, like it, especially if you're a beautiful lady, it doesn't matter if, you're wearing a dress or wearing pants, they're going to look because you're beautiful, and they're not in control of their passions, they're, anyway. So
the greater problem is the infestation of lust in media, and how men, not all men, I really don't want to say that, but how the media preys on making men unable to control their passions. It doesn't necessarily mean all men are unable to control their passions, because there are some righteous men out there, really good, virtuous men. But the media really, really wants to break them. And unfortunately, it's using hurt or scared or, I don't know, desperate women to make it happen.
Absolutely.
You can wear pants. Just wear modest pants. Wear pants that are pants. Can I share that dovetail thing?
Sure.
Okay. My last story. So I'm so sorry, but it just contributed to this so much, because it's another problem about pants, about lady pants. So it was a targeted ad that was specifically to women's workwear, women's work pants. So they look like man pants, kind of. They fit a little bit different, but the price tag on those pants was $130. And they were not feminine looking pants at all. They were 100% functionality. But because they were women pants, they charged an arm and a leg for them. Women were not looking to wear pants for the sake of wearing pants to be like men, because that's totally backfired, because now it costs us more. Just saying. Because that was one of his things, that women wanted to wear pants to be able to do what men do. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe I'm missing something, because I'm not a feminist to that kind of world, I guess. But
that's weird that they charged an arm and a leg. You'd think they would charge 2 legs.
I think Tim died.
That was my soul leaving the body.
Adam, that's why I'm here.
Leave the comedy to the bears.
But I think you bring up a valid point too, and I think coming back to what you were saying too, there is a bit of a, I don't know how to word this really well, especially in traditional circles, but I think really everywhere, it's really, there's kind of this expectation that you're just going to be able to afford all of this stuff. You're going to be able to afford the $135 dress from Nieces, like for us as Canadians, one, like you say, it's impossible to get anything in Canada, so you have to order from the States. Well, when you order from the States, do you realize how much it costs in shipping to get something from the United States?
So much.
And then there's additional taxes because you have bought clothes from the United States at customs. So they add even more. So you end up paying almost double for the clothes that you want to wear. And I
love my clothes, but I'm desperate to find clothes that I can wear.
Right.
That fits that happy medium of comfort and modest, because, you can't go to a mall here and find those things. Good luck.
Even if we had malls that were open.
Which
they're open, just only a couple people can go in.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? I feel like it's a bit of a, like they just expect that, you're going to have enough money to be able to afford doing all of this kind of stuff. And generally speaking, people can't afford that, especially in traditional Catholic families where the dad's bringing in, and paying for like 10 kids. Buying clothes from the United States at, close to $100 a pop is not feasible for these kinds of families. And, ask my wife, finding a dress is impossible. Like, it's so difficult for her to find any kind of dresses that fit in general, even from the States. So it's like,
ultimately it's a culture problem, right? Because if modesty mattered, then we would have access to clothes that supported that virtue. But because it's totally just, it's like they've just jumped the ship and they stopped caring.
Yeah. So it's a lot of extra work. It's not that don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that ladies shouldn't invest in proper fitting clothing or anything like that, Yeah,
no one is justifying dressing badly.
But yeah, all I'm saying here is that to me, sometimes it feels like the weight is put so heavily on these ladies without really a practical understanding of their circumstance and their life. And then they're sitting there feeling guilty, sitting in mass, wearing pants. It's like, that's not fair. That's not fair to, these moms who are just trying to get by, especially and there are single parents in these traditional parishes as well. That's not fair to them. So I don't know. I think we need to have a little bit more charity and a little bit more understanding and a little less kind of being so myopic on just that issue. And I think, a broader, more generous understanding of what modesty means is kind of more necessary.
Yeah. And again, there's no reason that a woman can't dress modestly, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to always be with a dress. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
You do see a little bit of that same attitude towards people who want men to always be wearing a nice suit and stuff like that. But I don't think it's nearly as extreme. There's a little more understanding.
Suits are expensive. Hey, wait a second. That sounds familiar.
Dude, if you're a big guy like I am, you're paying upwards of $500 a suit.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks. It absolutely sucks.
That's something I had trouble with, and I'm still having trouble with. I have a suit for weddings and funerals and church. And I'm a big guy. I mean, I'm 6'5". I'm 260 to 280 pounds, depending on when you catch me. And
I'm not catching you.
Yeah, you know.
So I'm trying to imagine someone taller than Mike.
All three of us together.
Have Mike stand on a chair. And it's hard because I'm not a normal proportion, so even if I go out and find something off the rack for a couple hundred, $250, I'm still having to take it to a tailor, because, the pants don't fit right because I don't have the normal American waistline. I don't have I'm taller than 90 some odd % of the population. I've got broad shoulders. I've got broad chests, and the clothes just don't fit me right. So when I wear it, I look like a sack of potatoes. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get to where I can wear a suit comfortably to mass or to a funeral or to a wedding and just, feel like, okay, I look like I fit in here. I don't look like I'm playing pretend. And, I watched my mom, I grew up Mennonite, which is like Amish with blenders. And we had, my mom struggled with it. She made a lot of our clothes, but she would go to, I think it was the TGI back then. She'd go to the TGI and she'd get these paper packets with clothing patterns.
The simplicity patterns.
Yeah. And she would buy the fabric from the from the craft section, and she would make her own dresses because, like you're saying, the dresses weren't out there, and that was back in the 80s. The dresses weren't there.
Mhm.
How far have fashions gotten from that point in the last 30 some odd years? Yeah.
People will pay for it. It just has to be available, and we do need to be charitable to each other and in our assumptions, right? Like
Catholic entrepreneurs, here's a market for you.
Yeah. I was just saying, there's a lady at our Latin Mass who's kind of dabbling in it.
yeah,
But
they're super cute.
we need
But-
more entrepreneurs to pick up on this, I think.
Yeah.
It's a niche market for sure. But
I would love to walk into a store and know everything that I'm going to pick is going to be something that like shows that I care. Right?
here's the other thing. Like, I think there is more appeal to these modest fashions than you might think.
Yeah.
Some of the conversations Brooke has with like friends and family who aren't trad or aren't even Catholic, a lot of the ladies are on the same page about this kind of dress,
Mhm.
that, they would buy one if it was available for a decent price. They would want to wear it, but it's just not there. It's almost like a form of like top-down control on what ladies are wearing. Is They just won't provide you with a modest dress.
Or one that's like a good quality one
Yeah.
that'll last. Like I love Giant Tiger, but I don't expect those dresses to last me 10 years. I would know. I bought their sweatpants and they're not looking that great.
Giant Tiger, please sponsor us.
That's a Canadian store for you Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so everybody who's listening, we'd love to know your opinions on this. You have an equal place at the table here, so let's hear what you have to say.
Mhm.
So visit us on our socials at Theology of the Buddy, and yeah, hit us up either in DM or comment on the post for this episode, and let us know your thoughts, because yeah, we know we're not the only ones who have strong opinions either way about this. But yeah. So yeah. Hey guys, thanks for coming and hanging out on a Saturday night. This has been fun. And thank you for all wearing pants today. So I appreciate it.
You are welcome.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, like I said, please, we'd love to hear from you. So come and visit us at Theology of the Buddy. You can find us at theologyofthebuddy.com for all of our episodes as well. Make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening. We'd really appreciate it. Yeah, so we'll be back in 2 weeks from today with our next episode. So make sure you subscribe so you know when that comes out. And until then,
Stay tratty.